Hey folks, welcome back to Mr. Global. Tulsi Gabbard lays a big fat egg. Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. We're going to cover all this Tulsi Gabbard stuff and the documents and all that. Before I get started, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate all of my new followers and subscribers. First, let's hear what Tulsi Gabbard had to say on Sean Hannity.
With the objective of subverting the will of the American people, who in November of 2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people and to use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup.
Yes, Barack Obama was trying to subvert the will of the American people. And then, did something with intelligence to carry out a years-long coup. Yeah. The problem is Barack Obama spoke a lot during that time. He spoke a lot. In December 15th of 2016, Barack Obama said, "We are not going to relitigate the results of the 2016 election." That means there's going to be no contesting the 2016 election results. He said, "We are not here to relitigate the results of the 2016 election because there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that Donald Trump or the Trump campaign participated in Russia's activities against our 2016 election in any way, shape, or form." In addition to that, where he publicly stated, "We're not going to relitigate the campaign. There's no evidence Donald Trump did anything." In addition to that, he repeatedly called for unity throughout, the end of the election when the election was decided and up until Donald Trump took office. He repeatedly called for unity. He said, "We're not Democrats or Republicans. We are Americans." He asked people to support the election results. Now, the entire case or subject that Tulsi Gabbard is bringing about is this idea that Democrats, Obama, Clinton, who else, was claiming that Russia hacked into our voting machines. They were trying to say Russia hacked into our voting machines. Nobody ever said that. That was never a claim made by anybody. And they know that. They know that. So here's the main difference. Here's what's going on. I'm going to pull up one of these documents. This is basically one of the summaries. I got to go through the documents that Gabbard released. Let's pull one of these up. Now, what I've noticed in this document here is that Tulsi Gabbard leaves words out. So right here, in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community consistently assessed that Russia is probably not trying to influence the election by using cyber means. She cuts that sentence off. The document she is referring to said, "Probably not trying to influence the election by using cyber means against or on voting machines." There was no mention of using cyber means against the DNC, like when they hacked into the DNC, Hillary Clinton, or John Podesta. These were specifically referring to voting machines. And it's a little more clear here. On December the 7th, 2016, after the election, talking points were prepared for DNI James Clapper, stating foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter U.S. presidential election outcome. Notice it just says election infrastructure. Once again, they are only talking about voting machines. Here is basically where the rubber meets the road. As far as Tulsi Gabbard and the Trump administration are concerned, if Russia did not hack into voting machine and physically change vote counts, then there was no interference. And they don't believe that misinformation campaigns, disinformation campaigns, the hacking of the DNC, Hillary Clinton, the hacking of John Podesta, that all of these actions, they don't believe that those actions are election interference or influence. If you're not hacking a voting machine, everything else is just politics and is fair game. And that right there is the crux of this entire argument and debate. What is election interference? Personally, I think if the Democratic or Republican National Committee is hacked by a foreign adversary, and once that's done, there is months of just a slow drip of information that is spilled out into the public space with no context, or can be altered. To me, that's election interference. The Russians do not get to participate. The Russians do not get to participate in the dialogue of Americans when it comes to our elections. And they certainly don't get to illegally hack into candidates or party or committee servers to glean and steal information to create more misinformation or disinformation to spread amongst the masses. To me, that's election interference. Period. So essentially what was happening between the intelligence community and the Obama administration is they were coming to Barack Obama and saying there was no hacking of, voting machines. And Barack Obama, yeah, I know. Like we all know that. But what about the hacking of the DNC? What about the hacking of John Podesta? What about all of this other stuff? So that's what he was wanting to know. He was wanting to know the extent and the scope of all that other stuff. It had long been settled that there was no hacking of voting machines. And another reason we needed to know the other stuff is because there's a lot of stuff besides just hacking voting machines. And people within the Trump administration was involved, or the Trump campaign was absolutely involved in some of that stuff. Period. But even with all of that being said, from the beginning, it was made very clear we were not going to relitigate the election. We were not going to relitigate the election. So there was absolutely no attempt to subvert the will of the American people. The attempt was to find out to what extent Russia had tried to influence our elections and if anybody in our country played a role in that. And apparently, according to Republicans, that is treason. That is treason. Obama was trying to subvert the will of the American people. I would like to point out that I can't think of or know of a single court case that was brought forth by Obama or anyone else trying to overturn the elections. Very much unlike what happened in 2020 with like 70 court cases. That is trying to overturn the results of an election. That was trying to subvert the will of the people. So once again, Republicans are going to be very let down, as they have for the last 9 years, waiting for some Democratic politician to be charged with a crime and sent to prison. And it's just killing them knowing that after waiting for over 9 years, nearly 10 years, for Trump to bring some of these Democrats to justice, that he is in fact the only one that has been booked, tried, and convicted of a crime. Yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Thank you so much, everyone, for supporting my channel. Please subscribe. You guys have a great Sunday.